Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of
Not Fighting.
You guys know, I'm Tyler Bishop, and this is...
I'm Jena Bishop.
And,
His sister.
No, don't get it confused.
Wifey.
People would immediately find, like, other images and stuff like that online where they'd be like, oh, that's weird.
But you know what's funny? Somebody had said that before to us, that we looked like we could be related. And I was like, don't tell me that.
Well, that's the thing. We got our 23andMe reports back. And
we are not related.
It was one of those things we found out deep into our marriage that we both had like parents or grandparents that had like a similar maiden name. They spelled it differently. I think it was Reagan.
No.
Didn't you have McLaughlin? Yeah, that's right. It was my grandma, and we were both like, like we both have a lot of Northern European, but it's different Northern European, y'all.
Yep.
Not related.
All right.
Married. So it works out great. But yeah, I think this episode of the podcast is one that we've actually double checked, which is kind of nice because
Tyler be messing it up.
Yep. So if you did listen to the last one, I apologize for the audio. It was not up to par with kind of what we've been able to do recently. And in that episode, we talked a little bit about how we had to kind of basically burn an episode because I didn't have the mics on.
Yeah, he was all cocky about like, oh, we fixed the problem. Sorry, like it's good. And then it was not fixed.
It was not good. Yeah. I won't bore you with all the details of it, but yeah. When you...
we back, though.
Whenever you do any kind of, like, audio, visual stuff, I feel like you always have at least some instance where, like, the lens cap is still on or something like that, and we've...
I mean, that seems like a very old problem.
I mean, it's still fairly new with a lot of cameras.
Yeah.
But one of the things that sucks about it is that we made it through like 40 episodes with like 0 of those problems, and then we had like 2 in a row into our 40s.
Because I wasn't setting it up.
It's true. You can set it up from now on. How about that?
Sounds good.
So yeah, welcome back to the podcast. If you didn't have a chance to listen to the episode, you know that Jena Bishop is bully number 1 in the female MMA community. So hi.
Hey, tell your friends.
Hide your flyweights. She's elbow barring everybody out here. I don't want to dig into that story anymore. If you want to listen to the full kind of like whole ordeal, we went over it in the last episode. But I think it's fair to mention that it's not one of the reasons why you still haven't fought. Although people do seem to be afraid because we can't get you a fight at 125 pounds.
I can't say why. If people are afraid, I'm not gonna like go out there and be like, yeah, people are scared of me. But like, there's been a lot of names given, and nobody is taking it.
And everybody's been like...
And the one person who did take a fight then had to pull out because of an injury. So
yeah,
I'm just dying to get a fight. I'm trying, people. I'm still training hard. So, yeah, fight me.
Yeah. She's got a cold right now, so if somebody, wants to capitalize on a short notice fight...
I'm pretty sure it's really bad allergies, but...
Yeah, well, really bad allergies.
Not feeling my best.
If you're thinking about taking a fight with her right now, I would say she is definitely... This is the time to get her, guys.
Yeah.
You seem like you're high on cough medicine right now.
I haven't taken any since this morning, so I'm due for another dose.
Isn't that a weird thing that, like, I guess that I don't know if it's still a thing or not. I'm not up to date on, like
your lean and scissor. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, a little bit, but like that used to be a thing before they figured out like kids were drinking like tons of cough syrup to get high. Mm-hmm. That they would basically just go and like I think now whatever the ingredient is that they would use to get people high, it's like they reduce that amount. I know in the town that I grew up in, you had to like show your ID to buy it.
I think that's in a lot of places. If you buy like certain like decongestants, like a Mucinex, like they're behind the counter.
Yeah,
over the counter. But
yeah, I grew up in a town where meth was like, it was like we were real good at meth, number one, and for a while. And I just remember like everything in town. It's like whether you wanted to get like propane or anhydrous or something like that, if you were like working on a farm or something, it's like very, very strict because people are just buying up like loads of cough medicine and stealing anhydrous and cooking up meth. So those are at least 2 ingredients for meth that I'm aware of.
I don't know the others.
I don't know the others either.
It was Sudafed and anhydrous.
Which, in fairness, like whoever figured out, like, oh, we can just steal some anhydrous and get some like cough medicine or whatever. It's like that person is like a special kind of redneck genius.
Maybe they were like not a redneck. Maybe it was somebody that like
a normal genius.
Yeah, but they just had a drug problem.
Yeah, that strikes me
like
as
Breaking Bad style.
But how would they know about anhydrous?
I don't know, because they were a scientist.
Did they go to high school?
They got addicted to drugs.
Did they go to a high school that had a bring your tractor to school day?
Probably not.
Real story. We had a bring your tractor to school day, and they had to make a rule that you couldn't bring a combine because it would slow down traffic because there was only one road to the school.
But all tractors slow down traffic.
Yeah, but you could go around a normal tractor. Combine takes up both lanes.
The whole, okay, it makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. For those that don't know what a combine is, Google it.
Yeah, it's just a big tractor.
It's a big tractor. Yeah, it kills thousands and thousands of rabbits and stuff like that a year.
Don't talk about that. That's sad.
People that are like vegan, it's like, well, you're not accounting for combine deaths. You're more responsible for combine deaths.
Because all the grain that you're eating.
Correct, yeah. Corn,
to be
grain,
harvested.
soy. Vegans love soy.
Do you know? Oh my God, this is a weird thing we just stumbled upon. I don't even think they understand that their soy and their grain. I mean, if you're a vegan and you're eating those things, those certain vegetables, they're being harvested and killing animals.
I remember Grandpa saying once that like whenever they would like combine like I don't know like soy fields or cornfields, I can't remember which one it was. That like
probably soy. I mean,
they could only do so much because then they had to go in and they had to actually like clear bones out, like hard brush and bones.
Okay, doesn't that contaminate like the product?
I mean, you got to deal with a certain amount of contaminant. It's like kind of like rat feces.
Yeah, don't they like allow a certain amount in like all your food?
Yeah. I think Subway got in trouble because they were putting like a certain amount of yoga mat in bread or something.
What?
There's like something that's in yoga mats that was also in Subway's bread.
Oh, okay.
And they were like maxing out whatever
it was
amount
like,
you could put in there.
It was like plastic.
Yeah, allegedly. Don't sue a Subway. The podcast is brought down by like a Subway lawsuit that we've been in like multi-year like fighting.
I mean, I would settle.
I'd settle. So they're suing us. Don't tell Subway's lawyers that we would settle a lawsuit with them.
We're not going to settle.
Never. We've got the money to take this straight to the Supreme Court. We can't be stopped. No, not even by Subway. No. Bring it on. No, but speaking of bringing it on, we're
gonna do some cheerleading.
No, God no. That reference is only gonna hit a very small portion of the audience.
We're gonna bring it on again.
Even smaller. Bring It On, I feel like, was popular enough when we were kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, it was. You feel like it because it was.
Was Kirsten Dunst in that movie?
Yes. In the original one.
Man, I feel like
Gabrielle Union.
She's not in anything anymore, which makes me think drug problem, right?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to put that on her.
I mean, we're going to look it up afterwards. You look it up at home right now. Let's see if I'm right.
Babe, don't say that about people.
I'm just saying, like, maybe I'm right.
You don't know.
Well, here's one thing I do know. We were watching the fights last night. We happened to watch the latest UFC. I think it was 262.
I don't know the numbers. I don't pay attention.
I'm guessing here. But it was when Tony Ferguson, Charles Oliveira fought Michael Chandler in the main event. And then Tony Ferguson fought Beneil Dariush. Mm-hmm. And what I found really interesting about it is that Tony Ferguson clearly got his knee just destroyed.
I heard it was his ankle.
Yeah.
From a heel hook.
Yeah, that's what Dana White said. He said
it was like a swelled up like a baseball on his ankle.
I remember.
So who knows? Probably both joints messed up from a heel hook. Just saying.
Probably both.
But
which it's weird because
but the thing that everybody's like, man, he's so tough, and I'm like,
but are you?
tough and stupid are very different. You can be tough by like not tapping to a submission because you're fighting out of it. You're stupid when you're clearly caught and you just like let it break because why not? I don't want to tap.
Yep. It's like you don't have any other answers, you know?
Yeah, that's
it's like the guy that's always getting in fights because like he has no other like rebuttal. He can't like he has no like
no comebacks.
Yeah, no comebacks. So he's just like wants to fight about everything.
Yeah. I know somebody like that.
Yeah, me too. We're thinking of the same person.
No names.
Shout out to Nick Schrott. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Friend of the show. Friend of the
opposite.
No, but like, yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a really good point, which is that, you know, the idea of not tapping, right? Like, I think in certain cases, people see it as like, oh, that's super gangster. They didn't tap. I think in certain circles, it's viewed as like, that's so stupid, you know, tap, live to fight another day, that sort of thing. And, you know, you and I were talking about before the podcast, but it's probably a little bit more nuanced than that. So like, yeah, I think what you said was really
like,
good.
Yeah, like in the academy, for sure, like tap, live to fight another day. You still try and fight out of things because it does bother me when people just like, oh, you got
me.
And like, that's not how it's going to happen in competition. So like, at least for the benefit of both of us, try and fight it a bit. But like there's no need to risk anything in training and not tap. Like if your ego just gets in the way of that in training, like that's just stupidity. In the same way, it's stupid if you're in a competition and you're just, they've got you dead to rights. Like there's no escape. You've gone down every path of like trying to escape, and then like you just won't tap because of an ego thing or like some kind of like, I don't know, mental disorder.
I don't even think it's an ego thing at that point. I think it's a like that's the only option you have, and you're willing to like that's the option you're willing to exercise.
But I think that's ego.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Where it's like, you know, you think
I'm not gonna tap to anything. I'm cool. It's good. Fine. I'm tough. No, you're not. You're dumb.
Which with leg locks, I always tell people this, and like when we're training. But I'm like, the last thing you want to do with a leg lock is, if a guy has it, is pretend like everything's cool. Like, just be like, that's fine. You don't have anything. I'm good.
I think we were talking about this. I was talking about this the other day after training with some guys, like, about, I feel like when you first start getting into leg locks, there's always that thing where it's like, you have that experience of somebody grabs your foot and you're like, no, I'm fine. Like, it's fine. But you don't do anything to defend it. You just like watch it happen. It's like, it was probably fine at that moment, but you didn't defend it. So then it got not fine. Yeah. And then your stuff gets broken. And I think almost everybody has a story like that where you're like, no, I'm fine. I'm just going to play it off. But like playing it off, you still have to defend it. Yeah. You can't just let the position progress.
Anytime you're in a situation where you're in a submission and you're like, I don't really have an answer, but like, let me see what happens. Yeah. Like, let's just see how this goes.
I mean, chokes, there's a little bit of like, you can be like, I'm fine, and just stay there and wait for them to like burn up their arms or something. Because you know, like, I'm not going out from this. But like with like joint locks, that's very different. You can't just be like, I'm fine, and then like let them get deeper and deeper in the position.
Which is funny because now as a black belt, like every now and then I'll be training with somebody that's like really strong or big. There's probably other situations too, but it's like, if something feels really weird where you're like, this isn't a submission, but like, I feel a lot of pressure here. Like now I'll be like, especially if it's just training or something, I'll be like, hey, you got it. Or just like, let's move or whatever. Like I'm just like been through enough weird situations where it's like, oh, well, I didn't know my sternum was going to get folded together. Moose.
I don't think that was a thing where you even knew that was going to happen.
No.
Or that was you were threatened. You should have just let
I didn't know it could happen. I didn't know you could fold your chest in half.
Yeah, just let him pass your guard.
Yep.
If you're fighting Nick Schrock, just let him pass your guard.
Yep, just let it happen.
So your sternum doesn't fold in half.
Yep, it'll be better that way, I promise. No, but like, Tony Ferguson, if no one saw the fight, he got caught in a heel hook by Dariush. It was really, really tight. And the biggest thing about it was when Dariush... I'm like... Dariush is Missouri and me coming out.
Yeah.
When he had the heel hook... Tony Ferguson was basically like laid down. Like he wasn't in position to really defend it. He couldn't
rotate either way. He figured out he couldn't go either side, and then he just like made a face and let it pop.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like if you're not real adept at leg locks, like you can think of it in terms of an armbar, where it's like you get your arms separated to where it's like it's starting to get straightened out, and you can bridge, you can twist your arm, and sometimes you can roll out and sometimes you can't, but then you reach that point to where it's like, okay, I can't move anymore, I'm not rolling, like my arm is straight, and then it's time to tap. Like you exhausted all options. Tony Ferguson was in a position to where it's like there was no options. He was like completely flat on his back. There was no way to get to either other position. His leg was completely captured, and his answer in that case was just like, all right.
Let it happen.
Yep.
Break it.
And it was twice, kind of. Like, I felt like he had it twice to where it's like he probably...
Like, he went for it, popped it, and then, like, kind of, like, readjusted it and popped again. Yeah. Maybe? Seemed like that.
Which I healed... actually, it sucks. It was a guy that I trained with in a tournament once, and it was his ankle that popped from the heel hook.
Yeah.
And when you do it good,
I mean, I understand that.
You'll get the ankle first, but everybody always worries about the knee because the ankle puts so much pressure on the knee. But yeah, you got to wonder if Tony Ferguson maybe both. I think it was his surgically repaired knee too. So it's like the mental aspect of knowing that you just blew out your knee that you had fixed recently. It just seems stupid, right?
Yes, it is stupid because. Now, like, if you're trying to, like, compete and train or fight, it's like, well, you're out for a long time. And you still lost the fight anyway.
Yeah.
Like...
And he was losing the fight.
It's very...
And it got worse after that.
Yeah, it's, like, it's very different. Like, if you're like, oh, man, like, if I just hold out, like, I'm still going to win this fight. Like, when there's, like... I don't know. Like, with MMA, it's different because there's not points. You're just based on judges scoring. But, like, I could see, like, oh, it was, like, the last... minute of the third round or something like that, and you're just holding out because I've been dominant the entire time. I'm not going to tap because I know I'm going to get the W. But like, or in a tournament where it's like there's just a few minutes left and I'm going to, like, I'm winning, I'm up on points, like whatever. I understand that, but it's like that's not the case.
Yeah.
You're getting dominated in every position, and then like you just let yourself get injured for no reason. Like there was no benefit in that,
I think the idea that it's like gangster or like really cool to not tap is like the thing that sticks out to me is like that's what I would emphasize.
Yeah.
I do think there are instances where people get injured from submissions where it's like you're pushing as far as you could, and as a competitor, that was the time. Like, I think about Hinzo versus Sakuraba, where it's like, Hinzo, I've heard him talk about it before, where he was like, I knew that he had my arm, but I was also like, that's the price that I'm paying right now. I'm going to get him anyways, and I think I'm just about out of this. And that's when his shoulder got dislocated or his elbow or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like surprised, and I can see somebody being so competitive that you're like, kind of in something, but you're like, nah, he doesn't have it, and then pow. And that's something you said earlier when we were talking about this a little bit.
Yeah, because I was it was funny because we were having a conversation about with somebody about just like leg locks, because I think that's usually the game where people like have like weird things that happen in those positions.
And some people are flexible there, and it's known that some people don't tap to like foot locks and stuff.
Yeah, but I think it's a situation where it's like if you get your ankle popped, like me and there was a couple other competitors I was talking to, it's like we'd all had the similar experience where it's like you get you get caught in like some kind of foot lock, but like you're also kind of almost out of it, and because like the best like straight ankle locks, I don't know, like all of them, it's where the grip feels kind of like it's almost slipping out, and that's when it's like the tightest.
Yeah.
And so you think like, oh, I'm almost out, and then like you feel like, oh, my ankle popped, like whatever, and then you like you're almost out of like I don't know, it's just like a weird instinct or a fear, like, oh, it just popped, it's broken, and then you're like, oh shoot, and you tap. And then me and a couple other guys we were having the conversations, like that happened once, and then I'm like, man, like instant regret on tapping to that, because it's like I could have still fought. Like if you've gotten your ankle popped in a submission before, you know that it's not gonna hurt until like later, like way later. It's like initially like the first instinct, you're like, oh shoot, and then like it's not that bad. And then you were like, I could have kept fighting. And like, if you were winning, like the time that happened with me, I was winning that, or I think it was either like an even match, or like I just was winning. And it's just like, I was like, dang it. Like, I wish I wouldn't have tapped, because I could have still kept fighting, and I would have been fine. You know, like I would have been able to fight the next day, even because I didn't even take time off. Like my ankle swelled up. It felt bad for a couple of days, but you tape it up and you keep training, you know?
It's true. And, you know, there are instances where that's not the case. I did the classic, like, let's see how this goes. Play it cool. Act like you're not in a submission with a footlock once at a tournament. And it was when I was a brown belt, and I was so sure that was my year.
It's usually the case when you're a brown belt.
And I got caught in the footlock, and I just remember thinking, like, I don't think he can finish from here. And I just remember my ankle popping twice, and then being like, cool, well, it went twice. There's no way that he's going to think I'm going to tap to it now. Mm-hmm. And then it went a third time, and it just went limp, and I couldn't even move it anymore. It was just like dead foot. And, so I think instances like that, and bone breaks, Homolo when he got his ankle
But that's the
dislocated.
difference, though. It's like, it's a difference of like something happening fast and where you're almost out of it. And it's like as soon as you were tapping, you were already out of the position, versus like you're dead to rights. Like, or you're just not defending it at all. Yeah. And you were really being dumb.
We were talking about this yesterday when Jacare got his arm broken, which broke my heart as a jiu-jitsu aficionado. Is like to see Jacare get his arm broken, you know, in an MMA fight against a guy that, like, you know, grappling largely doesn't know.
I know he is a good grappler. That guy.
No, everybody says he's a good grappler, but I'm just saying, like, to the grappling
the
world,
community
like,
doesn't
unknown.
know. You made it seem like I thought you were saying like he doesn't know grappling.
No. I mean, obviously does. You know,
that's like a disrespect.
You don't get lucky in armbar.
No,
like world class black belt.
Was it even like an armbar? It was like it broke his bone, I think.
Well, I wasn't watching. I was listening as you were watching, and you'll remember, like, when they said his arm broke, I was like, he had to have had it tucked behind his armpit, right? Yeah. And you were like, I don't think so. Oh, yeah, it was. And I feel like in arm break situations, anytime you really do damage to the arm, it's like always behind the armpit. But that's the thing is, like,
I mean, even Jacare, like, he's a guy who like got his arm broken in a tournament and he was winning. He just said, no, I'm not tapping, because it was like an open class finals. I'm not going to tap because I'm going to win this. And it's like mad respect for that.
Yep, because this is the other conversation we had along with this, which is like, there's a big difference between getting a submission where you actually break something, you know, like actually create an injury to where the person can't continue, and you hyperextend a joint, or you destroy somebody's joint. Because it's like Jacare in that match with Hodger, he was trying to pull his arm out, and he went to yank it, and it just straightened his arm out and allowed Hodger to pop his arm. So he messed up the elbow joint, probably tore a bunch of stuff. Just who knows?
Strained some ligaments, probably.
Yep. But then when he got submitted in the MMA fight, it was they made it sound like it was whatever bone this is. Is it the ulna?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
It's the bone inside your bicep, one of those. But yeah, he broke that bone, right? Like that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's getting surgery. I saw.
But like, you break somebody's bone, or you, like, you know, dislocate
like completely
their ankle.
Dislocate, like, the thing, which I've seen guys get their like shoulders dislocated in tournaments, and they try and keep fighting, but it's just like and like most of the time it's not from a submission that I've seen it. It's like kind of like a freak thing, and then just like you keep fighting, and then I've seen people like pop their shoulder back in, and then it's like it's so loose at that point where you keep fighting, it just pops out and it just gets worse and worse.
Well, that's sort of my point is like when people usually do have those like really serious like breaks or injuries, it's usually kind of a freak thing or happens in transition to where it's like they were trying to get out and it's because they were trying to get out that it was so bad, you know? That's what happened with Jacare, clearly.
Yep.
But like it's totally different than just sitting there and like watching it
happen.
Break.
Yeah.
Like really good example in female jiu-jitsu is Tammy Musumeci when she fought Michelle Nicolini at Worlds. I can't remember what year it was, but she got her shoulder dislocated.
And then elbow too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was like, I mean, she said afterwards, like, she was just like fighting and it kind of surprised her. She didn't realize like the arm was that exposed and it just sort of happened. And then I don't know if she tapped or the referee stopped it or Michelle was just like.
No, nothing happened. They went on, they kept fighting and then Michelle wound up like sweeping her and getting on top and scoring because I think Tammy was ahead at that point. That's why it happened. She was winning in the finals, and then that happened. But then Michelle wound up like sweeping her because she didn't tap, and then winning. I
just remember when they stopped, Tammy stayed laying there, and she just stayed laying down, and her arm was at a weird angle, and she had a gi on, so you can't really see like anything like gory.
Thank God.
But you could just tell like the way it was hanging.
It's not supposed to be in that.
Nah, it doesn't look right. You know. And speaking of not looking right, like that guy that got knocked out in the fight last night, he like had a real delayed knockout and stuff like that.
Hit in the temple and then 10 seconds later, like just stumbles back and like goes unconscious for a second.
And I think that's the thing in fighting when you see somebody get injured from a submission or a punch or whatever it is, it's usually sort of a surprise where everybody watching sees there's something wrong with it. But to watch somebody just let something just like get ripped apart, it just seems like it doesn't make any sense. Where it was just like, were you not paying attention?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like if I know I'm like already losing the match or like there's like probably not a chance of me winning. It's just or like there's no escape. Like letting the injury happen doesn't make sense because like. If I lose a match, I'm going to want to be able to get that back as soon as possible. So now I've delayed that happening because I can't compete or train because like I have this injury that I have to deal with.
That's what I think about. It's like, don't you want to like go back and fix things? Don't you want to go back and train and like, aren't you frustrated right now that like you're not performing well? And that would be like the thing where it's like, I'm going to tap and that's going to be motivation tomorrow because I'm coming back to train tomorrow.
Yeah.
The sitting there and like letting something get ripped apart is like knowing like, now I'm going to have to sit on the shelf. It's almost like, I don't know. For me personally, I see it as sort of like an excuse. It's like, I'm going to get out of having to train or like, I don't know
what it is because like my brain doesn't work that way. So I'm not going to say.
No, and who knows what, Tony Ferguson's a unique case in all respects. Like, I'm not going to pretend to know what he's thinking. But, I just hate whenever people act and play off like they, aren't in a submission when they clearly are and just like let their whatever get broken.
Yeah, like AJ Aga's arm.
Yeah.
I'm fine. That knee bar wasn't even close. Stands up, leg buckles, falls off the stage because he's like leg
wounded deers it. But like
just saying.
Yeah, but the thing is like MMA fighters need to just cut that out because MMA fighters are terrible actors.
This is very true. We have not seen a single movie or show, any kind of like production with an MMA fighter that has acted well.
Yep, you and I...
And we were talking about this because they were advertising a new, like, zombie fighter thing that's going to be on Netflix, which obviously I'm going to watch because I know it's going to be awful. I don't know what it was called. Something about dead because it's... They're talking about zombies.
Yep. And they had like a preview and it was like Forrest Griffin. And they're like, we're going to need some elite fighters to get these zombies.
Which, by the way, in the preview, Forrest wasn't terrible.
No. He had like 3 seconds, but he also didn't say anything. He just kind of sat there and looked kind of silly and dumb.
He said a little bit.
He didn't say much.
But I'm just saying he didn't look stupid.
But the thing is like, we were going through it and we're like, oh my gosh. Like, MMA fighters have been like in a lot of movies, and there's also a lot of MMA movies, and they're just garbage.
Yes.
But like we went through.
But they're like garbage on the level of like a Sharknado, where it's like
that was my argument though. But they're not.
I don't know. Some of them are.
I think Sharknado is such a silly premise to where it's like it's entertainingly bad, where it's like it went all in on being bad and it's sort of tongue in cheek. A lot of these MMA movies, it's like it's designed to be serious. Like,
yeah. I mean, some of them, yes. I mean, yeah, it's very true.
But we talked about it.
So is Cobra Kai, and I still love it.
Yeah, but again, like it's knowingly like doing.
I don't know. They seem like they're trying to be serious with it. Just saying.
But yeah, we said we maybe we should start reviewing some of these like B movies that are like MMA in nature, or feature
just
a lot
like
of MMA fighters,
fighting it, yeah.
And start like giving our reviews here on the pod.
But I will say this: I would say most martial arts movies that are out there, and people are gonna hate me for this. People are very much gonna hate me for this. Are pretty terrible.
Like, say the one you're thinking.
Well. There's one that you made me watch because you're like, everybody's like, oh, it's a classic. You have to watch it, blah, blah, blah. And it is...
Bloodsport.
Yes. And I was like, no.
People right now are like, they're like, because it's actually the greatest movie. She thinks it should have won like multiple Oscars or...
Come on. The acting is never good and the storyline is so predictably cheesy. So... I understand that. And from that aspect, it's like, I understand why people love it. And it's a fighting movie. And it's people who just like martial arts, all those kinds of things. I've never been into those things.
I'll never forget your face. Because we were watching, I'm realizing as we're watching it, I'm like, all right, yeah. Especially doing jiu-jitsu. It's like this dude, like this was supposed to, because they pretend like it's based on a true story. But like, he gets sand thrown in his eyes.
I mean, I love The Karate Kid.
Yeah, and it's based on a true story.
But it's cheesy as all get out.
Mm-hmm. It is. But it's nostalgic.
Yes.
To us.
Yes.
But like Bloodsport, I feel like it's nostalgic to like, I don't know, all men.
Yeah.
Because like you watch it as a kid and you're like, that is what fighting is. That is the most realistic representation of what fighting could possibly be. Jean-Claude Van Damme, I believe he might be the best fighter alive. I mean, that's reasonable for me to believe. And in the finals, when he gets sand thrown in his eyes, I just remember like your face, because we'd been watching it for a while. And if you go back and watch it, it doesn't quite hold up. But he gets sand in his eyes, and he's just like, ah! And his eyes are like wide open, how no one's eyes are when they get sand put in it.
No. If you get your eye poked or something in your eye, you can't keep it open.
No, that's the thing. Is like when sand's in your eye, like... You blink a whole bunch. You can't keep it open because your eyes are watery. That's why you can't see. His eyes are wide open as if it made him blind.
Yeah. So true.
I can't see. And I just remember being like, is it magic dust? What did he throw in his eyes? And then everybody's like, oh, he threw sand in his eyes. I'm like, even as a kid, I was like, hold up. Like,
doesn't make sense.
I was scared to death of getting sand in my eyes again. I'm going to be blind.
Something's not adding up here.
But, like, we were going through it because I was like, surely there's like, at least one mixed martial artist that's, like, transcended and been able to have, like, you know.
And we could be wrong, but we could not think of any.
Because I was like.
No.
I was like, Ronda Rousey was in movies and, like, let's be honest.
She's not in movies because she's not good at acting.
It's as if
that's why she went to WWE or whatever it is.
Yeah, she did. She was, dude, honestly, she was bad at that.
No, she's still doing it.
She had a baby. I think she quit for a minute.
I don't know, but
I feel like you're never.
I don't follow professional wrestling.
Clearly, but yeah, like Ronda Rousey, clearly terrible.
Gina Carano in like one of the most popular things ever because she's a fighter. Not good. Not a good actress. Like
I honestly,
she's beautiful and she can fight, but like.
Well, she got kicked off because she had like...
they were looking for an excuse to kick her off.
That's what I feel like. I feel like they were like, this is our chance to like get rid of her. She's not good, y'all. But she'd been in a ton of movies. Like, not as a main role, but like...
No.
She played like a tough girl or like whatever.
Like some kind of fighter.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I feel like people throw that in there to get an audience knowing that their acting's not good.
Yes. And I think, I mean, a lot of the other people that we were thinking of, like, they made, like, cameos, essentially.
Yeah,
but
they played themselves.
It was still very awkward and not good.
Yeah. Well, we were, the other one that I brought up, because this was like a blockbuster type movie, I guess, is Randy Couture. He was in, what was the name of that movie? They did like 6 of them. It had like Jason Statham in it. They were like all
like Expendables or
Expendables.
Was that it?
Yes, yeah, you nailed it. But he was in that movie, like all the ones that they did, and yeah, he's not a good actor.
Not a good actor.
And I love Randy. We parked his car next to us one day.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. We were gonna watch some fights.
He just had a heart attack or something.
He did?
He had when he parked his car next to us. Yeah.
Oh. Anyway.
Shout out to Randy if he's
So you know what?
Listener.
But I think it's funny because it's like we're not trying to hate on like fighters that have been in like movies, because like, you know, get your money, like, whatever, do your thing. But what's, I think, almost even more annoying is when you have movies that are about fighting and they just have regular actors and actresses in them, and they're like so corny, cheesy about the way the fighting is bad.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, at least try and get, like, learn something about the sport that you're like portraying.
That's where I think a lot of people did enjoy, like, John Wick. I didn't. I just thought this is just a movie where it's nothing but fight scenes.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too, is like, I'm not a fan of like those kinds of action movies where it's just like fight scene after fight scene, explosion scenes. I don't know, like just all these like wild craziness, and there's not like the storyline's very like thin.
Yeah, and I think it's because people, because of mixed martial arts, are exposed to what like real fighting and violence looks like. So, you know, even in the movies where they
see somebody like get attacked by like 5 people at the same time, and it's like they're all running at them individually. It's like, wow, and then, that's not real.
Even if you have somebody like Keanu Reeves who like does train jiu-jitsu and incorporate it into the fight scenes or whatever, it's like I appreciate that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm always like, dope, they did an armbar, or they did this or that, and I'm like, and it looked legit.
Still very unrealistic, to where it's like, if you watch 2 guys actually get into a serious fight and one of the guys knows jiu-jitsu and the other guy doesn't, it's going to be so much slower than that. Yeah. It's going to be very like, I don't know. But it's also like...
It's the reason why jiu-jitsu is not a spectator sport.
But I feel like it's changed movies for me that way. And I remember I had a friend a long time ago who was in the military, and they're like, yeah, I can't really watch like military movies because, you know, when somebody gets shot, they always just like basically like just die immediately. Like, boom, dead. And they're like, I've seen people get shot. They like twitch and nobody dies immediately. And I just remember being like, ooh, dark. And, you know, like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like kind of the same thing in fighting. It's like if you watch somebody get like arm barred in a fight and then the guy like straightens his leg and it knocks the guy out or whatever, you're like...
One thing that always bothers me is like everybody, when they get like they get choked unconscious, like somebody will do like a rear naked choke, and this has been happening for years and years and years before jiu-jitsu, because I feel like the sleeper hold has been like a thing for forever. And so, but they like put them unconscious and they're like, okay, now we can do all these things and get away from the person. I'm like, you know, they're gonna like wake up in like 2 seconds. Like, you didn't kill them, or they kill somebody from that choke, and it's like you held it for like 10 seconds, so they not dead, they just asleep.
No. And it's like, at best you hold it for a minute, and you know what, like the guy comes back and he's just not the same guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got some brain damage because he didn't have oxygen to his brain for a long time.
Yep. And that's what's funny about it. Is like, you know, they put somebody unconscious, like you said, like they're gonna go like do all the things now, as if somebody gets like an 8-hour sleep.
Yeah, it's like, oh, now we have like a 10-minute head start on this person. And it's like, no, you got a 10-second head start. They might take a second to feel like, oh, where am I? What just happened? But then they're gonna be like, yeah, I was just fighting these people. Where are they? And they're coming. You
bring up a great point, because it's kind of the same thing with knockouts, right? It's like, even in a fight, when you see a guy get like brutally KO'd, like Masvidal versus Usman, where it's like that punch knocks out anybody.
Yeah.
In like a movie, it's like a guy gets pistol whipped and he's like just unconscious, and then it's like asleep for a while, and it's like in reality he gets up and he's like, what happened? I'm fine. I didn't get knocked out. It stopped too soon.
It's like when they always seem like surprised when they knock somebody out, and then like they come back and the body's gone. They're like, where did they go? They're still alive. And like, well, of course they are. You didn't like beat them to death.
You hit him one time. Like, he probably crawled off like immediately afterwards. Dizzy.
They're injured, but like they ain't dead.
It's more like lifelong injuries. You can be more compulsive. Probably gamble more.
Yeah, deal with some migraines.
Yeah.
Can't look at screens.
Maybe get racist. I've seen it happen.
Well, I think that just brought out somebody who was actually racist.
It's possible.
Their filter.
Look into it. But yeah, I mean, like, it kind of begs the question of, like, can an MMA fighter or can somebody that's an athlete actually, like, end up being a good actor or actress?
And I'm convinced there's one person that I know, and maybe I am just a little bit biased because I train with this person.
Who is it?
And it is Angela Overkill Hill. That girl's got it all. She can fight. She can act. She's so creative.
How is she not in that movie?
Why is she not a zombie in that movie at least?
Yep. I guess,
that's what we discussed.
Yeah.
We think.
Because I thought that...
but, you know... Hang tight, guys. Maybe we're going to put our own movie together.
It's that Batista guy from Guardians of the Galaxy that's like the main guy in the movie or whatever. And I was like... That's the guy you expect to be killing zombies. Mm-hmm. Like, if you want to actually make the movie interesting...
You don't think that a strawweight female is going to be killing zombies.
Well, Angie proposed that she could be like Ace Ventura, Pet Detective 2, where it's like, you know, he fights that guy from the tribe that comes out on the backpack of the bigger guy. And it's like, you know, that's interesting. It's like, how did they survive the like zombie apocalypse? It's like, oh, you can't just be strong, you gotta be like agile and smart too. And it's
you need
like,
both.
She could be like on a backpack on Batista's back the whole time. It's not too early for reshoots, I feel like. Netflix,
we got more ideas, Netflix, so let us know. Sequel?
That's the name of this podcast. We got more ideas, Netflix. Hit us up. Bishop BJJ. Oh, I'm not gonna give out the email. I already gave out too much. The email address.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna
go. Anyway,
we're gonna all kinds of pictures and stuff we don't want. Not to give you guys any ideas or anything.
But anyhow, I am kind of like fading. This cold is getting to me.
Yeah, so, I can definitely tell. But one thing that is nice is that you know, hopefully there's some girls that are watching this podcast, women, if you will. Sorry, not necessarily just girls. But
wow, you're such a freaking
women of all ages, children included, will hear this and find that you're weak and want to fight you.
Yeah.
For money, professionally.
Please. Not children. I'm not fighting a child.
Well, like, never say never. But we want to thank everybody for listening to the show and putting up with the fact that I burned an episode and that the last episode
you only
the
got
audio
one
kind of sucked. We tested this time, so yep.
Fingers crossed.
Everybody's tested for this show for exactly what you think.
Yes.
Audio quality.
Anyhow.
We want to thank everybody for watching or listening to another episode of
Not Fighting.